I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. As you log on, please, if this is your first time, um, type in your name and where you're from, so either state or country, and I will be entering you into the drawing for the live or the free bag of pup for training treats. So make sure you let me know where you're coming from. Um, I am joined here. I'm at my house tonight, so I'm actually joined here by Raisin the cat. There's Raisin. Hard to see, and he kind of blends in with the couch cover. Hi, Raisin. My 3 pit bulls are terrified of my 18-year-old no-tooth cat. He rules the house with my dog. Also, the other side is Daphne. People don't get to see Daphne very often. This is Daph. Say hi, Daph. She's my pit bull French bulldog mix. And Maddie and Jade are resting in their crate with the door open. So I did see a post earlier today on crate training and whether, it was an article about why trainers like crates. I love crates. So I actually have a large crate in my living room, and I keep the door open all the time. And hi, Nicole. And my dogs just go in on their own and lay down, and usually 2 of them go in together. So I've had 3 of them in there together before. So my dogs obviously love their crate. So I'm just writing down names right now. Hi, Julie. Oh, you were. Is it the new ones? The new, the puppy, the Train With Me series that we're just doing? I know that they just came out with it today. So Julie. Kaplan, New York. So yeah, we started doing, oh, cool. Yeah, I just barely got home and I just saw an email that they released it today. So that's exciting. We're filming another one tomorrow, and then we have another one next week. And then I think it'll be all of the series, but we kind of wanted everybody to see the whole series like start to finish. So that's cool. You'll have to let me know what you think about it. Being on camera is not my favorite thing. In fact, they just asked me if I had any pictures of myself with my dogs. I'm like, no. I have lots of pictures of my dogs, but none with me in it. Okay, so we have Aisling from Ireland. And I think I'm going to have to grab another pen because this one is running out. Let me grab another pen. Let's see if this works. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Cindy. So we have Cindy. Oh, it's on YouTube. I think they're releasing it. I know it's going to be on the Pupford app, but I know it's going to be in a couple of places. So, yes. Oh, and Cindy, yes, I had these from Florida. Oh my gosh, this pen doesn't work either. Okay, hang on. Got one more here. Let's see if this one. This one's brand new, so it better work. Okay. Oh, Anthony. Oh, yay, Anthony came back. We didn't scare him off. So we always joke that the live Facebook is always women. And so last week I made a big deal because we have Anthony here today. And so I'm glad that you came back. That's awesome. From California. So yes, I think it will be in the Pupford Academy. I know it'll be on the Pupford app, um, but I wasn't. I'm not exactly sure where we're out. So I know there will be several options. Like you can either watch like the whole thing start to finish, or you can like pick different things like leave it or come or things like that. So um, okay, Joey's doing great. Oh, so I have two Facebook page. You can find me on Facebook. Here's my name, and then I do have a business one as well, which is that one. So you can find me on either one. I'll probably find it faster if you just do my personal one, because I'm not great at social media. I don't always look at the other one. It's just more um, pictures of clients and then where people can find me and stuff like that. So, oh, let me see. I need to add a few more people. Oh, I remember somebody up there said that their Rottweiler is afraid of their cat. I love it. I mean, my dogs will literally walk in the room and look around to see where the cat is because they've been swatted so many times that they don't want to walk in now um, until they know exactly where the cat is. Oh, there it goes. Oh yeah, Jennifer. Um, yeah, it's hilarious. Okay, let me see if I got everybody. Oh, Catherine. Pause. From Philly. Yeah, Jade. So Jade's had a long day. Um, we're training her. I'm training her to be a service dog, and so we went and practiced at RAI today, and then she went to a doctor's appointment with me, and so she is like fast asleep in her crate. Cindy, my friend Noreen has a dog and getting a Yorkie poo end of February from Joey's breeder. She's coming on here now. Oh, awesome. That's great. Hey, the more the merrier. Okay, now I'm going to try and scroll up. I don't know why it's so hard for this. Oh, let me just see if I can do. Okay. Oh, hi, Anita. Okay, I'll write down a few more names. Florida. Maria from Puerto Rico. Yep, Cindy, every Wednesday. Oh, 8 p.m. your time. Yeah, it's probably 6 p.m. my time. Okay, Anthony. I have adopted a Multi-Poo. She's about 4 years old. Was wondering how I get her used to my husky or other dogs in general. Okay, that's a great question. What I do when I want to get two dogs used to each other, and this is what we used to do at the rescue as well. First, we would just go for a walk on neutral property, neutral territory. So just go like on a side by side leash walk. Don't let them get like too close together, but they are when they're walking, they're gathering information. So they're air sniffing, they're taking in information. If their body language seems pretty calm and there's no like signs of aggression or one dog trying to get at the other dog, you can allow like really quick butt sniffs, and by that I mean like 1 to 2 seconds. So I'll let them like hurry. I'll bring one dog up from behind and say, "Here, you want to check it out?" Because that's where they usually start is at the genitals and the butt. And so I'll just do like 1, 2, and then take the dog off and praise and like, "Oh, good job, good job." And then you can let the other dog sniff and do a butt sniff. Um, And then if everything goes well on the walk, then you could go to, again, a neutral territory and um, drop the leash I would drop the leash of like the multi-poop, the one that's the smallest, and keep the leash of the husky. Since the husky, if something happened, the husky would do the most damage. Unless you know that your husky's really good with other dogs. Like, I trust my other dogs. I know they're not going to do anything to another dog, so I don't really need to hang on to them. Um, but yeah, I would hang on to the larger dog and let the multi-poo kind of, sniff and see if they want to hang out. And that's what I would do with dogs in general as well. I always introduce on leash. What you want to do too is when dogs meet, they kind of like, they curve in and go right for the butt and the genitals. So when you have your dog on a leash, you want to turn with them and stay on the outside so that the leashes are always going the opposite way. And that way, if there is any growling or anything, you can quickly like pull the dogs apart and the leashes don't get tangled. So, and then again, if there is any growling or any posturing or anything like that, then I don't let them off leash. But if they do like a play bow or if they have like nice loose body language, then I would probably say, okay, it's a no go. We're not gonna let them meet. But even with my dogs that I know are good with other dogs, I'll still, do it on leash just to keep both dogs. And I always tell the other people, turn with your dog, keep the leash on the outside. So I would do that. You can also, like in your home, set up like baby gates. So when I bring home a board and train, a lot of times I will have the other dog on the other side of a baby gate, so they kind of get used to each other through the baby gate and things like that. And then before I let them just like interact together. Most of the board and trains that I do are puppies though, so I've never had any issues. But when I used to foster and I would bring dogs home, that's what I would do. I would introduce them on neutral territory and then maybe have a baby gate separate them, let them get used to each other, things like that. So, okay, Nicole, my Roddy, 7 months, is very reactive to people when we are walking our neighborhood. For example, when he sees them in their yard or garage, he immediately barks. He will also charge our fence if he sees them walk by. But when we are in public place with a lot of people, he is totally fine. So when you're in public, is he still on leash? And is he behind like a gate? So when you say like he sees them in their own yard or garage, are you walking by at that point? Or is he looking out the window? Or is he behind the fence and can see them in their yard or garage? Because it could be a barrier issue. So sometimes there's barrier reactivity where, and this can happen when a dog is on leash as well, because, dogs are more constricted. And then when, if they feel like threatened or they're fearful of something, then their fight or flight kicks in. And when they're on a leash, they can't choose flight, so they react. So it could be that. Some things that okay, yes, always on leash. Okay, when we are walking by their house and he sees them outside at all. Okay, hi Kathy. Let me hurry and write Kathy's name down and then I'll finish my answer. So what I would do is whenever you have behavioral issues, you always want to think about what do I want the dog to do instead. So instead of reacting, let's have him like look at the person and then look at me. So I do a thing called look at that. And it also at 7 months old, I mean, it could still be a socialization issue depending on, if the puppy didn't get socialized a lot due to COVID early on, it could just be a socialization issue. Um, but what I do is I start from a um, distance far enough that the dog can just look and not react. So if you're on 1 to 2 acre lots, that's actually good that you can start far enough away that your dog can just look at them and not react. And as soon as they look, um, if they react, then I just say, oh, let's go, and turn and increase distance. So at that point, I increase distance. If they're able to just look and not react, then I click and treat. And I do use a clicker for this because I like the dog to hear the clicker and disengage from the person and look at you like, oh, I heard the clicker, where's my treat? And I would do that several times. And when your dog's nice and calm, then take one step closer. So always when I say one step in my classes, go 3 or 4 steps. And that's enough to put a dog over threshold sometimes. And so you just want to go like one step. And I always ask the dog, like, do you want to go closer? And I take one step. If the dog doesn't come with me, I go back to the dog. So I never force a dog to get closer to something that they're reactive to unless they're comfortable doing it. So then I work a little bit at that distance. Eventually, the dog will look at the person, disengage on his own, and look to you for like, oh, mom, dad, there's a person, where's my treat, and handle this. And so if the dog looks at the person and then disengages and looks at you, then I click and treat for that as well. And then you can slowly get closer. Now, if you get to a distance and the dog kind of starts to give you some like calming signals, stress signals, displacement signals, so like yawning, looking at the ground, sniffing the ground, turning sideways, looking away, then I reward that behavior by increasing distance, okay? Because they're actually trying to calm their environment instead of reacting. So I'll just say, oh, good dog, look. And you can even click and then like run backwards and increase distance. So when the dogs realize that they actually don't have to get close to something until they're ready, then they're more likely to be like, okay, well, if I'm not comfortable, I can always back up. So let's get a little bit closer. But again, you have to set these up to where you can control the distance and just go really slowly at your dog's own comfort level. Another thing that you can do is if you know your neighbors really well, like you could ask your neighbors to toss treats to the dog. So okay, I'm just reading so you've already done look at that with barking dogs. So the nice thing about look at that is you can use that with anything. So anything that a dog is reactive to, be it dogs, other people, cats, horses. I've even done it with a dog with horses before. So you can use that for everything. So yes, do that with the people too. And then if you get close enough to the people, ask them just to toss treats to the dog. So that in your dog's mind, it's like, oh, there's people and they're giving me treats. I like people because they toss me treats. So then you're getting that extra positive association in there as well, that the dog is associating the people with treats. So yeah, I'm glad you've already done it because now it'll be easy for you. You just do the exact same thing. Hi, Emily. Let me write Emily down. Virginia. Okay. Kathy, how is Charlotte doing? Since Kathy lives in Utah, I've been able to go to their house a couple times and work with their bulldog Charlotte, who's like freaking adorable. Also, Kathy, I just started working with another bulldog puppy, English bulldog puppy, that looks exactly like Charlotte, only when Charlotte was a new puppy. And it's so cute. She's adorable. Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to scroll back up and see if I missed anything. Um, oh, so Catherine, my 3-month-old is very timid, and we haven't even met another pup yet. Got her a week ago. Okay, so I would start introducing, even though she's 3 months old and may not have all of her shots yet. I would start introducing her to other dogs. And that doesn't mean you have to introduce to like 100 dogs. It doesn't mean she has to be friends with every single dog, but start doing like, short introductions, but make sure that it's with dogs and dogs that are really good and solid, well-behaved dogs. So with new puppies, I always introduce them to one of my dogs because I know my dogs will be nice. What you don't want to happen is for your dog to have a scary or a bad experience with another dog, because then it can affect your dog later. So just really positive introductions. If you can do short play groups um, with another dog about the same size or the same age, that's had like the same amount of vaccines, that's great too. Um, I'm I don't know. Well, let's see. In Philly, you probably have the same like vaccine stuff that we do here. So in my puppy classes, I only require that a dog have their first set of shots because the socialization is so important in the puppy class and the things they learn. Um, that being said, you want to be careful where you go in public because of like distemper and parvo, and parvo can live in the ground, and other dogs may run up to you and not have their vaccine. So you want to be careful, but it's still really important to start socializing now. Okay. Um, okay, Julie, a couple days ago, Dakota got out. Um, and didn't come back when she was called. And before this happened, I was telling my husband how to handle the situation if she ever did get out, but he did not take my advice. He went out yelling. And I literally placed in the game Chase Me. There's snow and ice everywhere. Um, so I mean that's what I would do as well. I do a sit stay or a sit wait. So if Dakota is going to go out the door with you, then I would do a wait. So um, so it's like sit and wait, and then I put the leash on, open the door, and then say, okay, let's go. And then the reward is actually that they get to go for a walk. Um, if they're not going out, if you have to open the door, you can use stay. Now, when I would rescue new dogs because I live on a highway, I actually put a baby gate up on my door so that if people came to the door, and people always love to open the door and then open the screen and let the dogs out. So I put a baby gate up so that I could talk to somebody, sign for a package, whatever, and the dogs could not get out. So if Dakota likes to bolt out and run and play the chase game, then I would put up a baby gate at your door so that Dakota can't run out. Like there's no way that that can happen. And then with the baby gate, I would teach a good wait and a good stay. But at least it's not wide enough to where she has as much um, freedom and space to run through the door. So you could do that as well. And when I'm in clients' homes and we're practicing like wait or stay at the door, I will have a leash on them so that if they do start to bolt, I can just step on the leash. But usually, when they know they're going to get a reward, I'll do like a stay, open the door all the way, the dog stays, I close it, quick, and they get a reward for staying. And then sometimes we do wait, and I'll I'll say, let's go, and then we go outside and play a fun game of go hunt or something again on leash. Um, so the reward for waiting is that now we get to go outside and go for a walk, or we get to go outside and play go hunt or something like that. So yeah, try those things, and tell your husband that I said he can't yell at the dog, because yeah, sometimes they think it's a game. The dog thinks it's a game, and if the dog ends up coming to you and you yell at the dog, not you, but I'm just saying like you generally, if people yell at the dog, then they don't want to come anymore. They're like, well, last time I came, you yelled at me, so why should I come? Um, so yeah, you want to be careful about that as well. Usually, I start like running the other way or acting goofy. You're like, oh, look what I got! I got treats, and my dogs all know what treats mean, and so they'll come running because they know that mom has something really good. So you can. So the trick is to make yourself seem really fun and really exciting, um, instead of like yelling, which I know is hard to do. That too, because I get scared like, oh my gosh, and so it's like just the dog's going to get hit or take off. So okay, Tracy, best potty training tips on a new 8-week-old pup picking up this Friday. Um, okay, so what I would do is first and foremost, I would start crate training, because dogs usually don't potty where they sleep and where they're laying. So I would definitely crate train. And then you want to take the dog out like first thing in the morning, um, like right after a nap, half hour after eating, after a training session. So the more active a dog is, the more they have to go potty. So, and then after, and then in between all of those, so after first thing in the morning, after nap, after training session, after play session, and then probably for an 8-week-old, every 30 to 45 minutes, I would just say, oh, you need to go potty? Let's go out and go potty. And then um, take the puppy out, walk around on a leash and say go potty. So it's not like a free for all, oh, go sniff the yard, because then a lot of times they'll just play and they'll forget to go potty, and then they'll come inside and go potty. So I always walk them around on leash, so it's like this is potty time, this is not play time. Um, and then reward them. If they don't go potty, then they go back in the crate. If they do go potty, then they can have like free roam of the house for a little while. Um, and then if they don't, then creating to go potty outside. Dog on a schedule, so I don't like to free feed. Um, I feed like about the same time twice a day. For an 8-week-old, you're probably going to feed 3 to 4 times a day. But what goes in on schedule is going to come out on schedule. So getting your puppy on a good regimented schedule is going to help as well. So I would do that too. Okay. Kathy, she's doing well, getting better at not jumping on people. Yay! That's great. Great news. Good job. Um, oh, I would love to hear your tips for excited jumping on people. Okay, so I'll give you, for those of you who've been on before, you've probably heard me talk about this, but my dog Jade, who's fast asleep in the crate right now, loves to jump on people. And one of the reasons is she's a smaller pit bull because she's mixed with like Boston Terrier. So when she jumps, people are like, "Oh my goodness, she's so cute," and I'm like, "Yeah, but she's being trained to be a service dog, so please don't let her jump on you." And so then if she jumps, they're like, "Oh, Jake, get down, your mom's gonna get mad." And I said, "Well, you just touched her, talked to her, gave her attention." So yesterday I went to some new client's how to a new client's house, and they decided to get two puppies that are only 5 months apart, which I would never recommend. And the dogs are like totally out of control. So I walk in, both of them are jumping. The owners are yelling at them like, down, get down, get down. And they're like trying to pull the dogs down, and it's just engaging the dog more. And I said, just let them go. Don't say anything. For one thing, down means lay down. I use off for like get off. But what I did is I just kept turning my back and ignoring them. I just kept turning my back, ignored the dogs, and when they had 4 feet on the floor, then I would say hi, give them a treat, and engage. If they jump up again, I would turn my back, um, totally um, um, ignore them and not engage until the dogs like calm down. So that's kind of what I do. So negative punishment is taking away your attention because you want jumping to not continue. So when people, I have to tell people like don't engage with the dogs. Well, Jake's really the only one that jumps. So I just say if Jake jumps, turn your back, ignore her, don't give her attention. But then I'll say Jake sit, because if a dog is sitting, they're not jumping. So what happened yesterday is these dogs finally learned that, oh, if I'm sitting, I get treats and attention, and when I jump, I get nothing. So pretty soon the dogs weren't jumping anymore, and they were sitting and looking up at me like, okay, I'm sitting, where's my attention, where's my treats? And then I was treating them and giving them attention. So sometimes you as the owner have to step in and say, okay, turn your back on my dog, and then you have to ask your dog to sit, and then say, okay, now you can say hi, now you can pet him, here's a couple of treats you can give him. Um, and and so the dog learns that it's sitting that's going to get them what they want, because dogs basically are jumping for attention. So if you don't give them attention when they're jumping, but you give them attention when they've got 4 on the floor or they're sitting, then that's what they're going to start doing. It's still a work in progress with my dog too, but it's just because, everybody will always say hi to her and kind of encourage the jumping, which I'm trying to break her of that habit, but people aren't being very helpful. Um, okay. Um, is it Katarina or Katharina? She's very timid, having a hard time walking on leash too. Yeah, so um, with shy, timid dogs, you have to go slower and you kind of have to go at their pace. Um, so I never force a dog to interact with another dog if they don't want to. Sometimes in puppy class, I'll have a dog that it takes like 2 or 3 weeks for the dog to want to play and interact, because they're like scared to death. So eventually, by week 3, the dog's like, oh, all these other dogs are playing. It looks like fun. Nothing bad's happening. So then they'll jump in and start to play. So if your dog is timid, you always want to let your dog go at its own pace. Um, if your dog is like hiding behind you, um, like getting in between your feet, it's okay to pick your dog up, but you don't want to baby your dog and soothe your dog, because then that works for the dog. And then they learn, oh, if I act scared, mom will pick me up and baby me. You can pick them up so that they don't get like trampled by other dogs, because that's just going to make them more fearful. So you can pick them up, but just don't baby them too much and coddle them. And with the leash walking, I would just go really slow. So what I do with dogs that are timid, let's see, do I have a leash around here? Probably not. I will like Um, show them the leash, give them a treat, and then take them both away. Show them the leash, give a treat, take them both away. And then I might drape the leash over my arm, like I'll use my thing that holds my glasses on my head. So then I'll put the leash like here and give a treat. So the leash is like right here, and I'm giving a treat with the leash here. And then do that several times. And then I might just clip the leash on, treat, 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 and then take the leash off. Then when the dog's used to the leash, I'll put it on and maybe have the dog drag the leash around for a little while. You can even toss treats out onto the ground and let the dog pick up the treats while pulling a leash. So they get used to it that way. And then you can start like slowly picking up the leash, treat, pick it up, treat. And just go at it like really, really slow. Another thing you can do on walks is drop treats like right in front of the dog every step so they're more focused on the treats than the leash. So it's like, oh, I'm going for a walk and I'm getting treats, and then they don't even realize that they have a leash on or that they're walking on leash. So that can help too. Okay, Cindy, I do all the training. Husband clueless. Yep, I've seen that before. So I feel your pain. Okay, Heather, I have a 9-week-old German Shepherd. She bites our feet and pant legs while walking. She actually ripped my daughter's leggings today. Um, okay, so what I do is, so there's a dog that I walk, a client's dog, and he gets super excited, especially it seems like when it's snowy out and dogs just like love the snow and they get excited. And so he will start like sometimes jumping and biting. And what I do is I'll like stop and say like, hey, and I'll redirect into a sit or a hand target. And we don't walk until the dog's calm. So I stop walking. In fact, there's another dog that I do hike and train with. And when I go to pick up that dog, he's so excited that he jumps up and actually will like bite at my coat or my arms or whatever. And then so I just have to say, hey, and then I'll ask him to sit. I'll ask him to hand target. I'll ask him to watch me. I'll have him like wait for treats just to settle him down. Um, and then we don't walk again until he's calm. For some dogs, and I had a German Shepherd. Um, I've actually had a few in my life, and they have some shepherds have a very high prey drive, which my shepherd was a search and rescue dog, and he always had to have something in his mouth. So if your dog is like constantly biting at your feet or your pant legs, you can teach him or her, sorry, you can teach her to hold something in her mouth. So it's like, oh, we're going for a walk. Let's have you hold a nylabone in your mouth or a rope toy. And so you can teach the dog to hold something in her mouth so that, Maddie, come here. So the cat just got up and the dogs are scattering. And Maddie, my big 70-pound pit bull, like this is Maddie. This one is terrified of my cat. So she was just frozen for a second, like, oh my gosh, this cat, where do I go? Hilarious. Um, sorry. Anyway, so you can have the dog. In fact, you could carry a rope toy with you, or a ball or something, and when your dog starts biting, um, redirect them to the toy or the ball and have them carry the ball. You could also just teach to leave it. Probably at 9 weeks you haven't gotten to leave it yet, but you can do a leave it. Um, and then again, when dogs get mouthy, it's totally normal because that's how they explore their environment is with their mouth. And sometimes when kids like scream or, the dog actually thinks you're playing. So the more boring you can make it, like just standing still, don't walk, redirect your dog into doing something else, and then waiting for the dog to calm down before you walk. I find that works a lot. So try that and let me know how it goes. Um, oh, yeah, I just read Cindy's. He was a shark from 8 weeks to 6 months and um, put a chew in his mouth. Yeah, that's what I would try. So I have this other client, and they've got the cutest little blue nose pit bull. And I am not kidding when I say when I left their house, I my hands were bleeding because this dog was so relentless with shark teeth. And finally, because we were in the house doing training, I created the dog. We tried redirecting to a toy, that didn't work. So then we put the puppy in a crate for 1 to 2 minutes, let the puppy calm down, which I know you can't do while you're on a walk. Um, and then we put the puppy in a crate, covered the crate, and left him in there for a while. Um, Another thing that you might try is stepping on your dog's leash. So not close enough to where it's like choking them and they have like no freedom, but then they can't um, like far enough that they can't bite at your feet or your legs, and they have no choice but to like just sit and kind of settle down, and then you can start walking again. So you could try that as well. Um, oh, let's see, I missed one. Oops. Let's see. I need to scroll back up. Okay. Emily is asking, do you do temperament testing on puppies' dogs? So I did when I was in rescue because we had to do a test on every dog before it left. But I think studies have shown that they're very inaccurate. And the best way to tell what a dog's personality is going to be is to put it in a foster home. So the other thing too is dogs are going to act very different in a home than they do at the shelter because there's a lot, it's more stressful in a shelter, there's more going on, there's lots of distractions. Um, and a lot of times, dogs were like nervous in the shelter, and I would temperament test them and they'd be great. And then they go to a home, and after a week, people are calling and saying, this dog is chewing up our furniture and is going crazy. So, and I've read in other, just articles and stuff that they're not really accurate. So you can do them for whatever it's worth, but I wouldn't really put a lot of stock in them, really. So, um, oh, Cindy, we live in a community with all dogs that go on the lawn, use potty lawn on balcony. Um, yeah, so you can use like I'm not a big fan of pee pads just because dogs chew them up and it doesn't really teach them how to go potty outside. But I had a board and train once, and the people lived on like the sixth or seventh floor of this um, a kind of assisted living type place, and so they wanted their dog to learn to go on a potty patch. So um, we did that, and it actually worked really well to where it looks like grass, and it's got like a little drawer underneath it, at least the one they had, and there's some spray that you can actually spray on the grass, and then that it's some kind of scent that makes the dog want to go there. And so with poop, you just like clean it up like you would normally. The pee goes like through to the bottom, and then you just take the tray out, dump it, and clean it. And I was really amazed at how well the puppy did in going to that. And then it was easy to transfer over to lawn because it feels the same and looks the same. And so then the puppy had, when we did go potty outside, the puppy would go outside, but he did use the pee patch too. And I think that's what it's called, is pee patch, or potty patch. And yeah, if you're in an apartment or something like that, you could use that and then transfer it over into a lawn. Okay, Maria. Maddie, stop. What are you doing? Okay, I have a 10 to 11-month-old rescue. We live in a small apartment in an urban area and let her off leash in a park to exercise. Her recall is getting stronger, but it is not 100%, especially if there's cat food or some other tasty treat. Is it realistic to expect to get to a point where her recall is 100%? Um, yes, it is realistic. Dogs can get to 100% recall. My German Shepherd, who was a search and rescue dog, um, could be chasing something, and if I said come, he could turn on a dime and come. But it took a lot of work. Like, it took a couple of years for him to get a really good recall. So what we did just yesterday with a client, we're working on recall. We went to a park and we practiced on a long line. And then we started to introduce more distractions. Like, I got one of my dogs out, and so that the dog saw my dog, and then I had them practice recall. And then they could reel the dog in with the leash if the dog didn't come on its own. And then we had really high value treats, so that um, every time the dog came, the dog got really reinforced. And then the dog would come to the owners, they'd give the treat, and then they'd say, okay, go play. And then I let them, like, interact, play with my dog, and then they would call their dog again, um, come back, get a treat. So at first we like bring them in, give them a treat, release them, so that it's not a bad thing to come. It's like, oh, I come, I get a treat, then I get to go play. Yeah, it is harder when there's something on the ground, but that's where I would also use a leave it. So I teach leave. The way I teach leave it is, you leave that, but I'm going to give you something better. So I start with like a milk bone and ask them to leave that, and then I give them a training treat. And then I might ask them to leave a piece of cheese, but they get a piece of hot dog. And then I might ask them to leave chicken, but then they get steak. And you can kind of decide what your dog's own value system is. So whatever I'm asking them to leave, they get something better when they leave it. So I will often use leave it and come together, especially if I have my dogs off leash and they're usually finding deer and elk poop. I'll say leave it and then come. And then right now, while I have a couple dogs in training, I always carry bacon with me while we're hiking, so that I can really reward them for doing that leave it and that come. So yes, it's absolutely realistic. And your dog's only 10 or 11 months old. I've been working with Jade for a year, and she's now 2. And her recall is getting pretty good, but it's not 100%. So it does take a while, but it is absolutely doable. Um, I also, because you asked about emergency situations, I also have an emergency recall. So my emergency recall isn't come. It's like now, but I do. My dogs are trained in German, so I use a different word. But I use a really, really high value treat that they never ever get any other time. And that's actually what I use the bacon for. So just for regular, like, high value, leave it and come, I use the Pupford salmon treats, because to my dogs, those are like the best thing ever. And then for emergency recall, I use bacon. So every single time I go to the diner, um, I ask for a side of bacon in a box for training. And that's because I don't eat meat and I also don't cook very much. So um, they just make it for me, and then I have it in the fridge, and then I'll practice. So I'll start training the same way with the leash, and then I'll say, like, now, and then reel them in, like, lots of praise, and then I give them the really high value treat. So that's how I teach the emergency recall. So we've practiced with leftover, like stuff that the dog doesn't normally get. So when they hear that word, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to get something super good." It's like Christmas or birthdays. Um, so we've used leftovers, we've used pizza, um, you know, like whatever you want that your dog doesn't normally get that's really high value. So I do teach a separate emergency recall. Um, okay, let's see, Cindy. I tell him he has to use my words. The pup knows sit down, come, leave it, drop, lay down, paw. Yep, and the husband will say no, no, no. Yeah, and the other thing too is dogs don't really understand what the word no means. It's like um, no, don't run, don't jump, don't wag my tail. Um, they don't really understand what no means. So instead of saying no, you have to show the dog what you want them to do. Now, I will use an interrupter, so sometimes I'll say, hey, But then as soon as the dog stops, I'll say, oh, good job, good job. So my whole tone changes. And then I show the dog what I want them to do instead. So it's like if the dog's chewing on something, I might say, hey, can't chew on that. But here's your toy. You can chew on this. And then I give them a toy to chew on. So, yeah, yesterday, again, that same couple that I was with that had the two puppies, they were yelling, no, get down, no, get down, down, no, no. I'm like, oh my gosh, dog, your dogs are ignoring you anyway, so stop yelling at them. Um, so it took a few minutes for me to like coach the people, and then the dogs eventually calmed down because they weren't getting any attention from jumping on me. Um, oh, wait is the newest command. Yeah, that that's true. When you are teaching a new dog, you always want to have treats with you. People always say, well, do I have to carry treats all the time? And it's like, well, no, but it's kind of your dog's paycheck. So if you don't have anything to reward your dog, then next time your dog might be like, well, why should I listen to you? There's nothing in it for me. And dogs are opportunists. So I do try to have treats scattered in different places just so I can reward the dogs for doing. And also, I like to reward for catching the dogs doing things I like. So if if I come home and Jade actually is not jumping on me, then I reward the heck out of her to let her know, oh my gosh, that's what I want. Thank you. That's such a good dog. And I'll reward her for that. If you have a dog that, is like a demand barker or demands attention, if you're watching TV and your dog is laying nicely at your feet and being calm, reward for that. So I like to keep treats around just so that I can reward for good behavior. Um, okay, let me scroll down. Okay, now I need to scroll back up. Sorry, I always have issues with scrolling on this thing. Oh, Heather, what do you carry around your treats in? I will show you. Give me 1 second and I'll go get it. So I use an actual treat bag. You can get treat bags on Amazon. You don't need one as big as what I have, but since I train dogs all day, almost every day, I have a big one. Um, Also, I think at some point Pupford is going to start carrying treat bags. Um, so then you'll be able to get it right from them. But you can get a lot of different ones from Amazon. I like the ones with the magnetic closure, so it's just easy to open and close. This one has like two side pockets for like poop bags. And then it has like a back zipper for poop bags as well, or I can stick my keys in there, my phone. And then this is like part of my wardrobe. Every day I put it on, but you know, again, I'm going to people's houses and working with dogs all day. So um, I buy treat bags like women buy purses. So I have a lot, and I've tried lots of different ones. You know, bigger ones, small ones. I don't like having to fill it all the time. So that's why I like the bigger one. Plus, with mine, I have a ton of treats in here, plus my clicker. So I just keep my clicker right in my bag so that I don't have to search for it. Um, and then, but they do make smaller ones. Like you don't have to get one this big. There's also some, like this has the clip. However, I have found that for me, when I just clip this on my pants, if I bend down, it pops off. Like my whole treat bag will come off. So I like the one with the belt loop because it stays on better. Um, and my dogs just saw my treat bag, so they're like sitting here begging. So I'm gonna give them one. Here you go. Here, Jake. Oh, whoops, that you get yours. Here, Jake. So, yep, this is what I use. Another thing that you can use is if you go to like Home Depot. For you guys that are out of the country, I don't know if they have Home Depots in your countries, but Home Depot has those carpenter aprons, and they're actually like $1, $2, so they're really cheap. And they have two pouches, so you can actually have like low value treats, high value treats. Um, so then you can actually keep your low to medium for regular training and your high value treats for like recall, leave it, emergency recall, things like that. So, um, yeah, I actually gave the pup of my treat bag so they could get an idea of what some different ones are. And so I think sometime in the future, I have no idea when, you'll start to see treat bags. But you can get treat bags at Petco or PetSmart. They're usually smaller and really simple. But I get mine on, well, I get mine through a place called Doggone Good Clicker Company, but it's because I will sometimes get them with my logo on it. Um, but I think you have to buy a minimum. I'm not sure. But I know you can get the same ones on Amazon. So, okay. Um, Steps for recall. Um, okay, so what I do is I start with a 6-foot leash, and I will get the dog interested in something else or distracted, and then I'll say their name once, and then COME. I'm not going to say it since my dog's right here, but I'll say like Rover, COME, and then if they, as soon as they turn to look at me and start to come, that's when I click, and then I kind of run backwards, reel them in. It's like, oh, let's go, good dog, good dog. So I make it really fun and exciting. And then when they get to me, they get a treat, and then I say, okay, go play. So they come, they get a treat, and they get to go. And I'll practice that a lot in different environments, different distractions, and then I will move to a 15-foot leash and give the dog more freedom. So then they have more room, but then if they don't come, then I still have that leash to reel in, because every time you call your dog to COME and they don't do it, then they learn to uh, ignore you. And if your dog is off leash and they're sniffing and exploring, then they're actually being rewarded for ignoring you because they're doing what they want and they're sniffing. So I don't say the C word unless it's, I know I use it like it's a nasty word, but I don't say the C word unless I'm 100% sure my dog's going to come. So if my dog's coming towards me anyway because I have their food or because they're just deciding to come, then I'll say, oh, yay, good, come. And then I'll like praise them and reward. Otherwise, I always teach it on leash. Then I'll do a 15-foot leash, then a 30-foot leash. I might then give them a little freedom and have, then if they don't come, I can pick it up and reel it in to reinforce it. Um, and then I practice like in a yard that's fenced, in a enclosed tennis court. I'll often go to a dog park when there's no dogs there because there's lots of distracting smells in there, and practice with that, like in an area like that. And I go through all those steps before I actually trust my dogs, like off leash, up in the mountains or something. So, like most of the time, if I have a new dog, I'll just have them drag a leash. Because usually I'm hiking like 2 or 3 dogs at a time, and so they usually stay together. So if I have one dog that has a good recall, then I'll trust the other one just to stay, and they usually do. Um, so the other thing too is your recall can kind of look like what you want it to. I have a different word that means just come back to my general area. So it's like, oh, you've gotten too far, just come back to my general area. Um, if I say COME, then I want my dogs to come sit and look at me. So it's actually a front position. So I like use a come front. And that means come sit and look. Um, and then if you have a dog that will kind of come but stay a distance, and then if you go to grab them, they bolt, then every single time I do come, I have the dog come, I grab their collar, treat, and then say, okay, go play. Just so they get used to having their collar grabbed every single time. So, so they kind of get just conditioned like, oh, they're going to grab my collar, I get a treat, and then I get to go play again. And then sometimes, they don't get to go play again. Sometimes they come and I hook a leash onto them if we're doing off leash. Um, or, sometimes if they're on leash and I'm having them drag a leash, I'll call them, grab their collar, pick up their leash, and then say, okay, go play. So that it's not always negative. If you have to do something that your dog doesn't like, so say you're going to put them in a crate, or you're going to give them a bath, or you're going to trim their nails, then it's better to go get the dog, because we don't ever want anything negative associated um, with coming to you. So I'll give you a really good example of myself as a bad example. So when I first got Jade, she is a fence jumper. So come on, give a clap. Good girl. So I would have to crate her when I would go to work. And I'm usually in a hurry, so I'm like, Jade, come here. And then she would come, and I would pick her up and put her in the crate. So she finally learned that if I come, Mom's going to put me in the crate. So she stopped coming to me. And I knew better. It was my own bad. I knew better. And so we kind of had to start over with recall. And now she'll just go like on the crate on her own. But it took a while for me to undo the damage that I did. So if you have to do something that your dog finds negative, then make sure you just go get the dog instead of calling them to you. Julie, is it possible to freeze the bacon? I don't see why not. I think it would be totally fine to freeze it. Yeah, in fact, that's a good idea, because then you can just make a bunch. Yeah, we never have leftover bacon because we don't have it here. So it's funny. I live in a really small town, and so it's like everybody knows everybody. So every time I go to the diner, and Jade's usually with me because she's service dog and training, they always say, do you want your side of bacon in a box? I'm like, yes, please. Or if I get something that comes with bacon, they're like, you want your bacon to go, right? And I'm like, yes, please. So they just know. Okay, Annie, our 5-month-old black lab is having issues playing with other dogs. With bigger dogs, it seems like she has too much confidence and becomes overbearing and relentless, and she bites at their jowls, ears. The big dogs are too nice to nip her and teach her a lesson. Okay, so let me answer that part first. At 5 months, that's pretty normal for dogs to like, bite at things. My dogs will bite each other's cheeks and pull them out. They'll bite at jowls. They play pretty rough. And without seeing a video of it, I would think that like dogs will correct if it's too hard. So she might be playing like really appropriate and not too rough for the older dogs or the bigger dogs to like correct. But if you think that she's being too rough, then I would say, okay, time out. And like she's not in trouble. It's just I'm going to give you a 1 minute decompression timeout time, and bring her out, let her decompress for like 1 minute, and then let her go back in. I have found that that really works in puppy classes. When I have two dogs playing, if I think one is like pinned or getting bullied, but isn't correcting, then I'll say, okay, remove. And we'll just say, okay, time out, and then we'll take them off, give them a 1 minute timeout, and then let them go back in. And usually, after a timeout, they go back in and they're more gentle. So, okay, she knows to be nicer to dogs smaller than her, but only when on a leash and not off leash. She ends up bullying them over and not knowing when to stop. Um, so if she does that, I would do a timeout as well, because it could hurt a small dog. It could really scare a small dog. So I would actually do a timeout, for that as well. Like, oh, hey, that's a little too rough. We're going to do a timeout. We are having her train walk by while leaving the other dog alone and laying beside them. But outside of the session, she goes nuts. Let's see. I almost at 5 months, I don't know if I would have them label. I mean, if you're practicing a downstay in like a classroom setting, that's totally fine. But if you're like at a dog park and all these dogs are playing and running around, but you're having your dog lay down, that's almost like too much stimulation for the dog. And if you're having them lay down, then it's like, oh my gosh, I want to play, I want to play, I want to play. And then when they finally get to play, they have all this energy that wants to come out. So it's like yesterday we were trying to train at a dog park, and there was too many dogs, and the client's dog was so over aroused, and I knew we were not going to get anything done. So we actually left and went to a different field where there weren't any dogs to train. And we practiced lots of things, and then we practiced, having my dog as a distraction. But so if you're at a dog park where there's lots of loose dogs playing, I think I would take away like having them lay down beside them, unless you're like in a training session. I hope that makes sense. And yes, it is a time and a practice thing. And your dog's only 5 months old, so I think with time and practice, your dog will get better. So yeah, I mean, Jade's 2 years old, and Jade plays rough. She will correct other dogs that are inappropriate, but she plays rough, and I even have to give her time out sometimes. And just be like, okay, you're getting a little rough. Let's give you a break for a minute. And there's like nothing wrong with that. So yeah, we're worried she'll meet a bigger dog at a dog park who isn't as patient and attack her. And that is always a possibility, which is one reason I don't like dog parks. But until your dog is a little bit older, I would try to set up play dates with dogs that you know, or do like, doggy daycare where they have people watching and staff supervising and things like that. Because we don't want your dog to get attacked, because that can affect your dog later. So yeah, for now I would do smaller play groups with dogs you know, and then have your dog. And when I do a timeout in like puppy class, I don't make the dog like lay down. We just bring the dog out and have them watch for 1 minute. Sometimes we will put them in a sit, but we'll just like have them watch for 1 minute, calm down, and then we let them go back in. Okay. So hopefully that answered your question. We have a puppy and puppy class that, and we're trainers are getting away from doing like the free for all puppy playtime. So I'm doing the same thing. We'll often like show people how to do introductions with dogs. Maybe let 2 dogs play, and then let 2 other dogs play, um, so that it's evenly matched. Because in any one puppy class, especially the one that I have going on right now, I have 2 6-pound dogs, and I have a Saint Bernard and a chocolate lab and a pointer. And so I have 3 big dogs and 3 small dogs that are all under 4 months old. So there's a big size difference. So just having a free for all could make it really scary and potentially harmful for the really small dogs. So I like to be very controlled about that. Oh, Annie. Okay, yeah. So you do the down only on a one-on-one play date. Perfect. Okay, and that's good. That's totally appropriate to like a decompress, chill, lay down, one-on-one. So yeah, that's totally fine. I've had some clients that try to recall their dogs when in the middle of playing with other dogs. Now, when they're old, you can start to expect that. But for puppies, if they're in a play group or it's just too much for their brain and they're not skilled enough to be able to leave a play group and come to you. So it's the same as like if there's a whole big group of dogs playing and you're expecting a puppy to do a downstay, that's too hard. But if it's one-on-one, then yeah, I think that's totally appropriate. Okay. I don't see any other questions. So let's do the drawing. And then if we get a few more questions, I'm happy to stay on and answer them. So let me put all these names in my little jar. And we'll draw for the drawing. And if you win, email Pupford. It's hello@pupford.com. Here, I'll just type it in. And tell them what kind of training treats you want. So they have beef, chicken, salmon, rabbit, sweet potato. So if there's a flavor you haven't tried yet, try a new one. And then I email them as well and give them the name of who won, and then they will send you out your free bag of training treats. Oh, I forgot to enter. Okay, so tonight's winner is Anthony Figueroa from California. So congratulations, Anthony, our one male who came to the live tonight, won the training treats. So congratulations. So Anthony, if you will email Pupford at the address that I put up, and they probably already have your address. If not, give your address, and then they will send you your free bag of training treats. Okay, let's see. You're very welcome. I don't see any other questions. So if there's no other questions, we will end it tonight. But you guys had really good questions. I love doing these, and I love answering these. And I'm glad that some of you got to see the new training videos, and I hope you like them. They're super fun to do, and like I said, we've got 2 more to do. So, oh, Maria, yeah, if you have another question, fire away. Um, so yeah, check out the new training videos because they've been a lot of fun. They're fun, and even being on camera is not my favorite thing to do or be in pictures, but I've really enjoyed doing these. And the dog that we're doing these in is like super cute and just this little fluff ball and just so darling and so much fun to work with. So, Maria, is it normal for my puppy to stop eating food she used to like? Not really. Um, so if your dog used to like it, um, one of the reasons, so are you free feeding or do you do meals? Because sometimes when you free feed, dogs tend to just kind of nibble and graze and they don't eat a lot. Um, so I like to do meals, and the reason that I do that too is to get them on a schedule. Um, but then also because I have an older dog who's got medical issues. Um, okay, I was just reading. Sorry, I get sidetracked easy. Julie, I will do that. Thank you for that suggestion. I will let them know. Um, so anyway, I want to see if make sure she's eating because Maddie likes her food. If you can see Maddie, I mean she's also on prednisone, so she's gained a little weight. But you can tell this girl likes her food, don't you? You like your food. So if she's not feeling well, sometimes she will miss a meal or two. If she goes 3 meals without eating, she's going to the vet because something's wrong. Um, so if your dog's acting, I mean, some things that I've done before is like I will add an egg in with the food, or I'll add plain yogurt. I've also done like gravy. Um, what else have I done? Yogurt. I buy like the supplement seasoning type stuff. But sometimes I'll mix stuff in to see if I can get them to eat it. If they're not even eating that, and if they're not acting right, like sometimes it could be an obstruction, which is due. Okay, you do meals, but you make her food. She has recently stopped eating sweet potatoes, scrambled eggs, and carrots. Oh wow! So I at first I would try making her something else and see if she eats it, and make sure that it's not something medical. If she's not eating anything, then I would go to the vet and make sure that nothing's wrong. Um, and because most dogs love eggs and they love carrots, I'm sure they like sweet potatoes as well. I don't like them, so I don't know why dogs would, but my dogs eat vegetables too. So yeah, I would maybe talk to your vet about it and just see what they think, or see if they can check and just make sure everything's okay. Yeah, sometimes when dogs don't feel well, they'll stop eating. So that's why I'm always a little concerned when a dog doesn't eat. Um, I do switch up my dog's food. So a lot of times I'll do the same brand, but I'll give them different flavors, um, just to keep it interesting. Because we don't eat the same things every day, so it's got to be boring for a dog to eat the same things every day. So I will mix up the flavors. I also rotate between like 2 or 3 different brands, um, but I mix them so that I'm changing them over just to give them some variety. So you might try that as well. But yeah, it just doesn't sound normal to me that a dog wouldn't want sweet potatoes, eggs, and carrots. So another thing that you could try. Um, Dogs really like broccoli, and I feed my dogs raw broccoli. And I went to a client's house, and she doesn't want her dog to have like a ton of treats, even though I told her, well, the pupper treats, they're only like 2 calories. But she got out frozen green beans, and her dog loved them. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that for my dogs, and just kind of mix it up a little bit. So things like, that in the freezer section, you can get like, and they were little, they weren't like the great big green beans, but they were small green beans. Um, like I said, my dogs love broccoli, they love carrots. Um, I don't know that there's a vegetable yet that they haven't really loved. So maybe try mixing it up a little bit and see if it's that. If your dog's not even eating that, then I would for sure be going to the vet. Um, okay, so it looks like that's all the questions. So we'll sign off for this week. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you next Wednesday, same time, 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Hope to see you there. Hey, have a great week.